Welcome to the deep dive. We take the sources you're curious about and really try to pull out the key stuff, quickly, without all the noise.
Exactly. Get straight to the point.
Yeah. So today we're diving into this whole thing about millennials apparently becoming cringe, according to Gen Z. It's been all over the place.
It really has.
We're using a transcript from the Pop Culture Crowd, this YouTube channel, and insights from that Guardian article, Cringe, How Millennials Became Uncool.
Right. That one laid out the basic idea pretty clearly.
So our mission, I guess, is to figure out why. What are the specific things being called out and what's going on between the generations here?
Well, it's interesting because both sources kind of touch on this idea that maybe becoming uncool isn't shocking. It's just what happens.
It's like a natural progression.
Yeah, exactly. One generation sets the trends, time passes, a new generation comes up with their own ideas. It's a cycle.
Okay, that makes sense. But the YouTube source adds a layer, suggesting generations handle it differently. Like Gen X sort of accepted fading out of the spotlight, maybe. But the perception is that millennials are, well, maybe fighting it a bit.
Resisting.
That's the argument presented, yeah. A kind of resistance to aging out of being the cool generation.
Okay, let's dig into that resistance. What does that look like? How are they supposedly holding on?
The term used in the analysis is kind of infantilization. It's this idea that millennials are perceived as being sort of stuck.
Stuck how?
Stuck in that identity they had. The cool, young, hip people, the progressives. The perception is they haven't quite moved on from that persona in the eyes of Gen Z.
Which is funny because, the sources do admit millennials were cool. They definitely shaped things.
Oh, absolutely. So many trends Gen Z likes now have millennial roots, like the whole MySpace look making a comeback.
Right. And that indie sleaze fashion.
Yeah.
Very Zooey Deschanel, early 2000s.
Totally. Even old Instagram filters. They made their mark, no question.
So it's not that they weren't influential. Not at all. And this leads into what the Pop Culture Crisis video calls the cringe cycle.
The cringe cycle.
Yeah. So a trend starts, the current cool generation adopts it, it goes mainstream, then eventually it becomes cringe. Until maybe a later generation picks it up again. And suddenly it's cool, but in a new way, without the old baggage. It's like cultural recycling.
Raiding culture's attic, basically. That old stuff becomes vintage. Okay, so something else mentioned was life stages.
Yeah, that was an interesting point.
The idea being maybe millennials who haven't hit certain milestones, marriage, kids, that sort of thing, they might care more about seeming cool.
That's the theory. Compared to maybe those who've, leaned into the dad joke phase, as the commentary kind of jokingly put it.
Right, like they've maybe accepted a certain level of uncoolness comes with the territory.
It suggests that maybe your priorities just shift, as you move through different life phases. Maybe that external validation of being cool just matters less. Big life changes can do that.
Yeah, that tracks. Okay, let's get specific, though. What are the actual examples of millennial cringe, according to the YouTube source? This is where it gets fun.
Okay, yeah, the list is diverse. Fashion-wise, ankle socks were mentioned.
Ankle socks?
Really? Apparently. And skinny jeans, obviously. Mom jeans, too, ironically. Styles that were huge, but now Gen Z sees them as dated.
Skinny jeans. Wow. So many millennials lived in those. Okay, what else? Food, drink. I remember seeing avocado toast.
Oh, yeah. Avocado toast, definitely. And frappuccinos. Very symbolic of that millennial aesthetic, weren't they?
Totally.
And the contrast drawn is like, now it's bone broth or matcha lattes for Gen Z. It really shows that shift in
a changing of the culinary guard. And it's not just what they consume, but how they present online, too, right? The transcript mentioned this polished social media thing.
Exactly. Because millennials came up with early social media, there was this pressure almost to build a personal brand.
Right. Curate everything. Show the highlights.
Whereas Gen Z's approach is often described as more fast and loose, trying to look more casual, more spontaneous.
Even though that casual look is probably just as curated in its own way.
Absolutely. It's a different kind of curation. But the appearance is less polished, less perfect.
So trying to look perfect is now cringe. Ouch. That's going to sting for people who spent years on their grid.
Well, yeah. And it wasn't just the polish. It was also trying maybe too hard to seem relatable, quirky.
Oh, okay.
Excessive self-deprecation, apparently, and even specific selfie angles, that high-angle look. Total millennial signifier now, according to the source.
Wow. So the performance of relatability isn't landing the same way for a younger audience.
Seems not. It comes across as maybe less authentic, perhaps.
Okay, and the cultural stuff. BuzzFeed quizzes.
Oh, yeah, BuzzFeed culture. Mustaches. Remember the mustache trend?
Vaguely. And that stomp, clap, hey-ho kind of indie folk music.
Yes. That exact sound. Hoppy IPAs, wide brim hats, even a certain photography style from the MySpace days. It's like opening a time capsule from the 2010s.
It really is. And language, too. Doggos.
Doggos, puffers. Those words are apparently also on the cringe list. Linguistic trends just fade like fashion.
It's wild how fast online slang changed. So the transcript gave examples of millennials reacting to this label, too, right? Like, some are laughing about it.
Yeah, there's definitely a mix. You get the humor stuff, like that POV rant about coffee addiction or that compilation video showing kind of exaggerated faces in cars.
The millennial cringe compilation, yeah.
Right. But then there's also this sort of mock exasperation, like, why is Gen Z so obsessed with us mentioning old tech like the iPad Nano or still defending their skinny jeans?
So some self-awareness, but maybe a little defensiveness mixed in.
That seems like a fair reading. A range of reactions, from laughing along to maybe feeling a bit blindsided or resistant.
And the pandemic came up as well.
Yeah.
As maybe speeding things up.
Yeah, that was an interesting theory, that it might have pushed some older millennials out of their, quote, partying era, maybe. And it definitely boosted platforms like TikTok, which became Gen Z's territory, shifting the whole center of internet.
That makes sense. A major event like that shakes things up online. New platforms rise. The digital landscape changes.
Absolutely. It gave Gen Z more influence in shaping what online culture sound.
It's like the playground chain. And this whole generational war idea. Millennials had OK Boomer.
And now they're kind of getting it back from Gen Z. Yeah. Though it's important to note, the criticisms seem lighter now.
How so?
Well, the source points out it's mostly about fashion, music taste, that kind of thing. Not really the big societal critiques that fueled OK Boomer. It feels more stylistic.
Right. More teasing about aesthetics than, say, economic policy.
Exactly. And as we saw with OK Boomer, these trends can be pretty fleeting anyway. What's a huge meme 1 minute is forgotten the next.
True. So given all this, what's the advice for millennials in the video? Just stop trying.
Yeah, pretty much. The core message is accept your heyday was your heyday, embrace where you are now, and maybe ease up on trying so hard to be cool.
Because the trying is part of the problem.
That's the argument. The harder you chase it, the less authentic and therefore less cool you seem to the younger generation. That classic paradox.
Right, right. But it wasn't all negative, was it? There was some appreciation mentioned.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The commentary acknowledges the cool stuff millennials did pioneer, love for their fashion trends, the music, the whole, experience of being a millennial back then.
So it's not just dismissal. It's recognizing that cultural impact, but also acknowledging that things move on.
Precisely. It's about the natural flow, not erasing the past.
Okay, so to wrap this up, it sounds like the main thing is these shifts in what's cool are just, inevitable, right?
Seems like it. Culture evolves, especially online culture. New generations come up, they define the new cool. It happens.
We've seen some specific examples: skinny jeans, avocado toast, the polished Instagram look, and how that contrasts with Gen Z's vibe.
And maybe the big lesson is that obsessing over being cool is kind of counterproductive.
Yeah, maybe the least cool thing you can do. So here's something for you listening to think about.
Yeah.
How has your idea of cool changed over the years?
Yeah. What did you think was amazing 10, 15 years ago that makes you kind of cringe now? Thinking about why those tastes shifted for you. That might shed some light on this whole generational dynamic. It's a natural thing.